Hey, welcome back. I'm Ferrikster, here to bring you some more Pokemon Go Battle League battles. These battles are practice battles, but before that, I'm going to hop in and just really quick cover these updates. If you want to skip this, there's a timestamp in the description to skip straight ahead to the battles. I'm also not going to read this entire thing. I'm sure there are plenty of other content creators who can cover that, and I'm sure that you also know how to go into your app and dig this notification out of news? Yeah, out of news. So, here we go. New attacks. Weather Ball Normal is being added back into the game. That was only learned by normal cast form, and as far as I know, that is the only thing that will continue to learn Weather Ball Normal. It's the only Pokemon that has normal Weather Balls. Also, attack changes. Weather Ball has been nerfed slightly, from 60 down to 55. In practice, I mean, it's going to make... it's going to take away Pelipper's ability to threaten Bastiodon in, the 0-1, but that wasn't an amazing matchup anyway. From how it felt during my playthrough, I barely noticed. I didn't notice a change at all. 60 to 55 isn't a huge change. They cut it by, 8% of its power. It just wasn't enough to feel. And I think Weather Ball, excuse me, is still an incredibly strong move. It's still very powerful. It's not like the Pokemon that were using it, that were leveraging that to be meta, like Pelipper, Politoed, any of the cast forms. They're not, substantially harmed by this. I would have actually preferred to see a slightly bigger nerf down to 50 because I think that would have shaken things up a little bit more. But it was a necessary step towards balancing Weather Ball. I guess we'll see if it still continues to feel too strong, but I think it will. All right, next up, Crunch. So Crunch, they're adding an effect to this move when it's used in Trainer Battles to tie in with its effect in the core Pokemon games. Now has a chance of lowering the opposing Pokemon's defense. It's a 30% chance of drop. A lot of Pokemon learn Crunch. It's a fairly widely learned move. This is a small improvement to an okay move. Zap Cannon. I don't think this will make any difference at all. It is a guarantee to lower the opposing Pokemon's attack by 1 stage. And they're saying that they will hope that Zapdos, Regirock, Magnezone, and Porygon Z will have a chance to shine. And that is not what's going to happen. For one, Porygon Z already learns Tri-Attack, which is a much better move because it's cheaper. And if you're going to have a debuff move, you'd probably like to launch it before you die. And Zap Cannon is prohibitively expensive for such a squishy Pokemon like Porygon Z to really make use of. Same thing with Zapdos. Zapdos already has very strong electric moves. In Thunderbolt, it really doesn't need to lose its... You don't need to give up spamminess on a Pokemon where Thunderbolt already hits like a nuke. You don't really need to be trying to build up all the way to a Zap Cannon to accomplish anything. Magnezone also has Wild Charge, which is just so much cheaper, comes out a lot faster. You get so much more damage per energy out of it. And yeah, Magnezone just doesn't have enough survivability to be wanting to debuff his opponent's attack when you've already lost 80% of health building up to that move. And Regirock would be the only thing that looks like it could maybe make use of Zap Cannon because it doesn't already have a debuff move or an electric move. But Regirock's primary way of doing damage, because Lock On doesn't do any damage, is with Stone Edge. And Stone, Rock, is resisted by Ground and Steel. And Regirock's existing coverage move, Focus Blast, hits Steel for super effective and hits Ground for neutral. Whereas Zap Cannon hits Steel for neutral and hits Ground for double resisted. So it just doesn't add good coverage for Regirock. And again, the expensive Zap Cannon, I don't see the Zap Cannon change making any meaningful differences. It might be utilized by some Spice Masters. or for the element of surprise, but I don't see that making a big difference. Next up, Scald. They're lowering the cost of the charge attack and adding an effect to provide a chance of lowering the opposing Pokemon's attack. So that's fine. Scald is learned by Vaporeon. And if you're going to use it on Vaporeon, that's going to be kind of your primary water damage move, because Vaporeon's only coverage move is Last Resort, which is a Community Day move, same as Scald. So in order to really use Scald on Vaporeon, kind of going to have to spend an Elite Charge TM on a Vaporeon that already has one of the existing Community Day moves. I really don't think you should be pairing Scald up with Hydro Pump. But you know what? I don't really play a lot of Vaporeon because it's not that good. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that shakes out. Other Pokemon that get Scald are Poliwhirl, which had it already, which in order to use in Great League needs to be XL all the way up to level 50. And you probably can find a better use for Poliwag XL Candy, making an XL Politoed for Ultra League, or even an XL Poliwrath for Ultra League. Also, learning Scald, Poliwrath is getting Scald added, and the thing about Poliwrath is that it already has a really good coverage move in Ice Punch. Its main damage dealing move usually is Dynamic Punch, but between Dynamic Punch, Power Up Punch, and Ice Punch, I don't see you getting a ton of utility out of Scald. Usually doing water type damage just isn't what you're using Poliwrath for. And fighting and ice cover enough things already that aren't like Azumarill, which resists water anyway. So I don't see that making a big change either. Feather Dance has been nerfed substantially. Energy cost increased, barely covers it. It now costs as much as the Brave Bird. So yeah, using it is really only using it as a bait move, not really using it that tactically anymore. And it's made Pidgeot, really, it just does not feel anywhere near as good. It felt very, very strong before. Feather Dance would come out a little bit too fast. I feel like they added too much energy cost to it. It now takes 5 gusts to reach the Feather Dance, and by then, debuffing your opponent, you could Brave Bird and double debuff yourself, or Feather Dance and do no damage and double debuff your opponent. It's turned Pidgeot into kind of a coin flip Pokemon where calling the bait is really important. So it doesn't really mesh well with my playstyle or the way I like to play the game, but I have toyed around with it in the practice battles. You'll see how that went. Megahorn, they're giving it a slight increase in damage, moving it from 100 base damage to 110. That's nice. It'll help Heracross, Nidoking, Escavalier, like they said. Not a huge change, but that's fine. It's enough. It's a little. So, attack availability updates. Nidoking will now be able to learn the charged attack Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb can obviously be charged not that quickly if Nidoking is running Poison Jab, or very quickly if you have Legacy Fury Cutter. But Nidoking, even with Sand Tomb, to use Sand Tomb you have to give up either Earth Power or Earthquake, which just, they do very consistent, pretty big damage from Nidoking. Sand Tomb is a little bit cheaper. You get to it faster, but it really doesn't have any damage output. So it's not my favorite debuff move, but it's going to provide some interesting play for somebody. But in practice, from how it felt, playing Nidoking for the 1 or 2 times that I tried to use it, Nidoqueen still much better. Poliwrath, already covered that. Has the charge attack Scald now. I don't think that'll get much use. Maybe in some specialty Sylph metas. But, there was a Sylph meta where Poliwrath was advisable to run it with Bubble and Power Up Punch to do more water-type damage. So if whatever that Sylph Cup was ever comes back, and Poliwrath hasn't been displaced by one of the newer Pokemon from later generations, then sure, maybe a return there. Heracross will now be able to learn the charge attack Rock Blast. That's pretty nice. Heracross was a highly, highly predictable Pokemon before. running counter with close combat and Megahorn. It's only really usable set. Giving it Rock Blast gives it kind of a bait move, and will provide nice coverage to the flyers, to which Heracross is double weak to. Although Megahorn obviously covers its weakness to Psychic a lot better, so it's really it's good. I approve of this because it provides a situation for each one where each one can be useful. So I approve of that change, even though I really don't have a Heracross made. Manectric will now be able to learn the fast attack Thunderfang. Thunderfang is a pretty high damage output move, but it charges ridiculously slowly, and they're also giving it the charge attack Overheat, which replaces Manectric's existing coverage move. The normal set for Manectric, not that anyone runs Manectric, was Snarl with Wild Charge and Flame Burst. And Flame Burst is bad, Overheat is a lot better, but Manectric is still bad. Like, making Manectric better did not make it good. Some people were discussing that it can get some key wins over, like, Azumarill, and in some shielding scenarios, G-Fisk, but, like, in practice, Manectric is so hard to use and was not performing really well in neutral matchups. So I don't think Manectric will see a lot of use, but, I mean, it's always cool to have options, I guess, even if no one's going to end up using them. Cast Form Normal will now be able to learn the charged attack Normal Weather Ball. So that's pretty cool. Now Normal Cast Form can learn Weather Ball Normal and Weather Ball Rock at the same time. Instead of just having one of the Weather Balls, it alternated between which one it had. And Energy Ball is the coverage move. Normal and Rock have acceptable coverage, it's not any worse coverage than Energy Ball with either of those, because all of those moves are resisted by Steel, so Cast Form gets shut down by Steel regardless. But yeah, having Cast Form with the option to be running either Weather Ball or double Weather Ball is a nice change. It's also nice because Cast Form now has 2 Weather Balls, because Cast Form, as you can see, has 2 Weather Balls, so it's in line with the anatomy of the Pokemon. And Cofagrigus, I'm not sure how to pronounce this Pokemon, but yeah, Kof will now be able to learn the fast attack Shadow Claw. This is the change that has been getting the most hype, because adding Shadow Claw to displace Kof's only other fast move the only fast move it could learn up until this point was Astonish, which is a remarkably bad move. Really, really horrendous. It's like the worst ghost type fast move now being replaced with the best ghost type fast move. Kof has incredible bulk in Ultra League where it needs to be level 50. Like, it needs to be super, super XL for you to use it in Ultra League. So I'm not going to be building one for Ultra League until October rolls around, where we will almost definitely be getting Wild Yamask spawns again. So definitely going to be mindful that you are going to have to grind those when they come out to try to get Kof XL'd in time for Ultra League. But Shadow Claw paired with its charged attacks Shadow Ball is the primary damage dealing move. Dark Pulse, which is the typical coverage move, it doesn't actually provide a lot of coverage, but it kind of functions as a bait move, because just it's slightly cheaper and does significantly less damage than Shadow Ball, but sometimes baiting, getting that little bit of extra energy that you need saved, sometimes that can flip matchups, and the only other choice is Psychic, which doesn't have a ton of use if you're shadow balling things, because Psychic is also expensive, and yeah, the coverage just isn't quite as helpful. You don't really have a ton of issues with fighters when you're running Kof, because double resistant counter. Most fighters do the bulk of their damage with counter and cross chop, because it's mostly Machamp. But yeah, so those are the changes. Let's hop into these battles. So, My first match is against No Treble Clef. Manectric into Pidgeot. He switches out right away, and that's probably for the best. If Manectric can resist the damage that's being done to it, then it can actually charge up and maybe get a move off. I switch out into Cofagrigus because, yeah, I figured that would be a pretty good counter to Roserade. I'm going to no-shield the first move, anticipating that this will be a Weather Ball. But since Weather Ball has been nerfed, look at how much less damage it does than it would have done before. It would have done 2 extra HP of damage before had it not been nerfed. Maybe it did make a difference here because I survived with not that much, and I'm not quite in farm down range. Going to shield this next Weather Ball. And I am going to Shadow Claw until I feel uncomfortable to continue, and now I'm going to throw the Dark Pulse. Unfortunately, as much as I'm saving a little bit of energy by throwing this Dark Pulse, opponent's going to shield, and I am going to get KO'd. And now I'm going to come back in with Manectric and go for a Snarl Down. Not quite going to make it, so now I'm going to have to burn Shield because everything kills Manectric. It's super, super squish. And take out Roserade. And now I have, some energy. Politoed comes in, and No Trouble switches out to make a catch, to catch this Wild Charge on Pidgeot, which is actually terrible for me because I'm left with a Stunfisk in the back. So, yeah, amazing catch. Definitely was what he needed in this match. Thankfully, now that Weather Ball has been nerfed ever so slightly, G-Fisk will survive 2 Weather Balls from this, non-Shadow Politoed. Still, this Politoed has a lot of energy. Gonna go for the Earthquake, take me out, and yeah, had enough energy left over because Politoed is ridiculously spammy, and is gonna let this Weather Ball go. Take out my Manectric. GG. So, yeah. Manectric. It's not really spammy enough for how squishy it is, in my opinion. Alright. Double Ball Cast Form into Pelipper. So, I still have move name 0352 because I had not refreshed my game data yet. If you're having that visual glitch of move name instead of Weather Ball normal, you can go into settings, scroll all the way down to advanced, and refresh game data there, and that will clear that up. So cast form, it only takes 3 hexes to reach a Weather Ball. So 3 hexes comes out in 9 turns, whereas Pelipper needs to throw 5 wing attacks, which is 10 turns. So as spammy as Pelipper is, cast form out-spams Pel, which is quite the achievement. No Trouble makes a catch, catching the Weather Ball Rock on Nidoqueen. Now I'm going to throw this Weather Ball normal, because I didn't want to switch out right away, and now I'm going to switch out into Hypno, now that Nidoqueen is a lot lower. I'm going to no-shield this first move, anticipating that it's probably going to be a Poison Fang bait, and it is, and then I'm able to Confusion Nidoqueen down, and with a little bit of energy. And Ninetales comes out. So I'm anticipating No Trouble trying to make a catch because No Trouble has done that to me twice already. So just going to throw this Thunder Punch. I was expecting Hypno to survive that Weather Ball with a little bit more, not because of the nerf, just I was expecting Hypno to survive a little bit more. Hypno's very bulky. Switches Pelipper in and throws right away. Maybe lost track of my energy and thought I had back-to-back. Throws this Weather Ball, and that's going to take me out. And yeah, that's fine with me. Now I'm going to be able to bring in a Scavalier. Counter Pelipper the whole way down, not able to get off a move, and yeah, Escavalier is sort of a wall to Alolan Ninetales, so I'm just gonna throw that and then counter the rest of the way down. Obviously can't throw this Mega Horn even with its slight buff because it's resisted, whereas Draw Run hits for neutral. Mega Horn's efficiency hasn't been buffed so much that it makes sense to throw, even if there's an issue of resistance. So yeah, there we go. All right, the next game. Pidgeot into Abomasnow. This is okay. The only thing is, look at me charging up this Feather Dance. It used to take 3 and now takes 5. It's a humongous nerf. Because now your opponent can almost always get a move out beforehand, and I've done so much damage already. I opt to switch out to Litleo, which I'm only using because Crunch is buffed. Yeah, but No Trouble brings in a Politoed, which is a really, really strong answer to Litleo. I'm going to throw this Crunch right here. This is actually a CMP tie. It does not that much damage because the damage hasn't been buffed, and I don't get the debuff because, 30%, not terribly reliable. So this is kind of a rough spot. Politoed has energy already. I bring in my own Politoed, hoping that he would just throw energy right away. Built up to what could be the Earthquake, and I'm going to shield this, and it turns out to be the Weather Ball. So decent chances Politoed doesn't have Earthquake. I'm just going to throw this Weather Ball here and get one of these shields. And I'm just trying to be careful to leave myself some energy. I tried to switch out to catch an Earthquake just in case that was coming, and it was not. Was able to gust down anyway, and now I'm just going to throw this Feather Dance right away. It is a cast form that comes out to catch that. It does basically nothing, but after debuffing the attack, I'm going to be able to survive this Weather Ball, so that's something. Hits for super effective, so that was a Weather Ball Rock. And now I'm going to throw this next Feather Dance, debuffing this cast form further. I get the shield there, which is great. And I'm just going to build up to force them to throw their energy. They don't want me to be able to reach another move, and he also really doesn't want me to be able to build up a move and then get out. Going to bring Politoed back in. My opponent brings his own Poly in. And I should really have just thrown my Weather Ball right away when Politoed came out, because I had lost track of energy, and instead I'm just going to take all of those Weather Balls. Building up to back-to-back, and now I'm going to throw this Weather Ball, and I lose CMP because my Politoed is a rank 1. And yeah, get Weather Ball down. Could have put up a little bit more of a fight there, although the Weather Ball would not have KO'd cast form from that health anyway, so not a lot I could have done there. Just really well played, and my Litleo had no play at all. So, all right, next up against Hollow Purple. Opening cast form again. I really like cast form in the lead. The double Weather Ball can threaten a lot of stuff as long as it isn't steel. I hit Pelipper for super effective. It does kind of a disappointing amount of damage, but I mean, it doesn't get stabbed, so, But importantly, I'm able to outpace, so just going to shield the first move in case it is a Hurricane. Most likely it's a Weather Ball bait, because that's what always happens to me. And yeah, now I'm just going to build up a little bit, throw this next Weather Ball. This Pelipper has a chunk of energy built up already. I could shield this in case it's a Hurricane, but I decided to just not, because even if I get taken out with the Hurricane, I'm going to come in with Kof, and I am going to farm the whole way down. Now I have some energy, I've got a shield, and, Kof nukes stuff. So yeah, No Trouble brings in a Pachirisu, not No Trouble, Hollow Purple brings in a Pachirisu, which takes the Shadow Ball like a champ because Pachirisu is ridiculously tanky. Gonna no shield this Thunderbolt. It does a lot. And now I'm gonna throw the Shadow Ball in the middle of the Volt Switch animation so that I don't take the Volt Switch damage. Maybe should have thrown the Dark Pulse. I'm still going to be able to reach the Dark Pulse against the opposing Kof, but this is not going to take it out because Kof is a little tanky, but that's all right. I still have a shield. I'm able to just bring in Pelipper, and since Kof does not have an actually good bait move, the cheapest thing it can throw is Dark Pulse. I will easily outpace it to the Weather Ball. I'm just going to throw this right here. And yeah, managed to take that game. GG. So, to reiterate, I think the lack of a good bait move or a cheap charge move for Cofagrigus really hinders it. Switches out right away against Skuntank into Heracross. I should have switched to Pelipper immediately. I don't know why I'm staying in. And I don't even know why I'm throwing this. Like, I'm going to get a shield, great. But I could have just switched to Pelipper and basically wing attacked the whole way down, taking almost no damage. I'm still not going to take that much damage from the buffed Megahorn. But, you know, I could have taken less if I had just swapped in faster. And I could have had a Pelipper with a ton of energy to deal with the Pachirisu that comes back out. So, yeah, I'm going to throw this Weather Ball. And it's going to hit Pachirisu and not do that much because Pachirisu, XL Pachirisu, is so thick, which is ridiculous because it's so tiny. But yeah, so I'm going to go down, taken out by this tiny squirrel again. And yeah, I'm going to bring in a Scavalier. I'm going to no-shield this first move. It is a Thunderbolt, which does devastating damage. I should have just shielded it. And now Kof comes back out. And I'm able to sneak in a poison jab, and that's helpful. I'm going to need to double shield here because I need to take Kof out with Skuntank. I'm not going to be able to do it with a Scavalier. The counters are double resisted. They do nothing. Get that first crunch off. I do not get a debuff, and that's not cool, but like it's also totally expected. I'm going to shield this Dark Pulse. And I should have charged up a little bit more before I threw this. I just was getting nervous about how low I was getting. I'm able to take it out with that move, and I'm just barely not able to reach the crunch. So yeah, gonna get taken out by this Squirrel. Squirrel, very strong. Squirrel, very bulky. I don't have access to that. I'm very jelly. But yeah, so GG. All right, into the next match. Opening Kof against Alolan Grimer. Terrible matchup for Kof. Actually don't have an amazing answer for that on the team. I switch into Steelix because it has the updated crunch. And I'll definitely get the debuff here because I have not gotten a single one yet. And why not? And I don't get it. And that's like expected because, you know, it's only 30%. You really can't rely on it. I shouldn't have tried to use Pokemon with crunch. Its buff was way too insignificant. I end up in perfect farm down range. So now this Ninetales has a ton of energy. Going to bring Kof back out, and I am going to shield once, anticipating that this is an overheat, hopefully not a Weather Ball bait. It is, so I'm going to take that and Shadow Claw down. But I'm in a pretty tough spot because, you know, there's a Grimer here, and I don't have an answer. Going to send a Nidoking, and yeah, I'm able to Sand Tomb, so Nidoking would be better against a lone Grimer than Nidoqueen would be because of Sand Tomb, but since I'm not able to line those up, kind of just in a rough spot against this Abomasnow. I'm going to shield this Weather Ball, but I am going to get way outsped, able to reach this next one before I'm able to take them out. So I'm just going to get fainted by this Weather Ball. Just lost too much too early, and Kof can barely threaten this Alolan Grimer. I'm going to survive this crunch, and thankfully it doesn't get the debuff. And I'm going to be able to throw this Dark Pulse bait, which will get a shield, and I will be able to reach one Shadow Ball, but it's going to be single resisted, and it's just not going to do that much. It's going to... I would have needed an entire extra Shadow Ball to take this Grimer down. So GG. Yeah, I did not have an answer to a Alolan Grimer on that squad. Alright, next up against Mikitaka. Cast Form into Pidgeot. This is a really good matchup for Cast Form, because Pidgeot is so slow now. I get some lag, and Mickey is able to sneak in an extra Gust, and that's not cool, but, you know, it is expected. Gonna throw 2 Hexes, and then throw the next Weather Ball. Get a shield, and Mickey has built up quite a decent chunk of extra energy, but I'm going to no-shield anyway because of Pidgeot's propensity to Feather Dance. I'm going to build up to a Weather Ball and then store that, swap out to Pelipper, and I am met with an Azumarill. So just going to go straight Hurricane. Mickey is already down a shield, so she's probably not going to want to shield a move. Hurricane hits for neutral and doesn't really do that much damage. This looks like it's probably an XL Azu. Gonna no-shield the first move, and it is a Play Rough, and that's fine. This might be one of those times where the Weather Ball buff made something of a difference, but really, it's probably only doing like 1 HP less now than it would have before, so probably not even. I'm forced to throw this Weather Ball so that I am able to save a shield, but it might have been advisable to just Wing Attack down, shield once, and end with all of that energy. And yeah, so Shiny Cofagrigus comes out. I'm able to reach this Weather Ball just barely. Gonna throw that. It does fairly decent damage to Kof, considering. And now I'm in kind of a difficult position because I brought a Scavalier, and it can't really hurt Kof that well. I'm gonna shield this Dark Pulse, even though I'm really, really low. Switches out to Pidgeot to try to catch a move. I am throwing this Weather Ball Rock, so that is fine for me. And now I'm switching out to a Scav because I am going to be doing neutral damage with these counters because of Pidgeot's normal subtyping. No shield, the Feather Dance, and that is fine. Building up to, and now I'm throwing this Mega Horn.
I've been double debuffed, so it's hard to gauge how much to undercharge, if to undercharge at all. I decided to just not. Kof is going to Shadow Claw me the whole way down, but that's all right. All I really need to do is be able to reach one Weather Ball. I'm going to shield this move also. I think Kof is still like 4 or so Shadow Claws away from the next one, and I'm going to undertap just to be safe and throw this Weather Ball rock. Lands, and now I have to throw one more Hex, and I'm able to take Kof down. GG. That was scary. Yeah. But all right. Into match 2. Now I'm opening Pidgeot, and they're opening with Ninetales. This scared me because I thought it was a Alolan, but it's actually a shiny Kanto Ninetales. So that is fine for Pidgeot. I'm going to no-shield the first move, I think. Yeah. Even though, I mean, no-shielding the first move kind of implies that I'm not going for the debuff. So I'm hoping to draw a shield here with these mind games, and I actually do, so that's something. Unfortunately, I'm pretty low, so I would have to shield this if I wanted to survive it, but I decided to instead just let Pidgeot go down, and instead I survive anyway. And then a Greedent comes out, and I'm able to reach this Brave Bird anyway, which is great because Greedent is pretty thick. Brave Bird lands, it does a lot, but again, Greedent really thick. So now I'm going to bring out Kof because I did not realize that Greedent learns Crunch. I forgot. Take that first Crunch. That's not great, and I cannot Shadow Claw down, but I can shield once and build up a bunch of energy so that a Kof can threaten something later. Energy on Kof will be nice because it's basically all nukes all the time anyway. Switch out here to try to make a catch. I switched out a little bit early. Could have thrown one more Shadow Claw first, but gonna catch this Crunch anyway. And yeah, then Mickey switches out into a Kanto Raichu, also shiny, I think, looks like. Gonna shield this first move. It is a Thunder Punch. And now I'm gonna throw this Weather Ball normal. Obviously, Weather Ball normal gets Stab. So that is the slightly more efficient move. And now I'm just going to throw the next one, since I was at back-to-back. I'm able to deny a Volt Switch, which is really helpful because it means that Raichu has to throw this energy right here and is now energy broke. So I'm going to get taken out by this Thunder Punch. And now I'm going to bring Kof back in, who already has a ton of energy. I'm going to have to throw this Dark Pulse here because I'm not going to be able to Shadow Claw the whole way down. I could undercharge it, maybe Zero Bubbled and tried to farm down, but I think Switch Timer was probably already out, and I don't want to be messing around with that. Waiting, and then Ninetales comes back out. I'm going to throw this Dark Pulse right away. I imagine that would have KO'd, but it just barely didn't. I'm able to Shadow Claw down just as they're reaching their move, and I'm just barely able to get to this next Dark Pulse and take out this Greedent for a really stressful endgame Kof sweep. All right, into game 3. Galvantula into Greedent. So I thought this would be a good matchup, looking at it. I also thought that Galv would win CMP, and evidently it does not. So I'm going to shield this first move. It is a Crunch. She gets the defense drop, which is not cool. I'm going to throw this Lunge. I get a shield. That's nice. And yeah, so now that I've been debuffed once, but they've been debuffed once, this Body Slam hits for exactly what it would have hit for normally, and it's so much damage. Oh my gosh. Going to throw this next Lunge. Not going to draw a shield there, and I would probably barely survive a Body Slam, so I'm going to let this go, and I don't. Really thought that one extra debuff would be enough, but it just was not enough to survive. So now I'm going to come in with Politoed. That's fine. I'm going to no-shield this move. It should be a Body Slam. No, it's actually a Crunch. Going for the debuff again, not getting it this time, thank goodness, and Azumarill comes out. I don't have an answer for Azumarill other than my Cofagrigus, so yeah, gonna no-shield this first move, kind of test Kof's tankiness. It is the Play Rough. It does kind of a lot more than I was hoping it would do, to be honest. Not gonna bait, gonna go straight Shadow Ball, and it does not enough. So yeah, this is kind of rough. Gonna no-shield this, hoping maybe it would be an Ice Beam bait, but no, it's just a Play Rough that takes me out. Mickey's able to sneak in an extra bubble, which is terrible for me. I'm going to throw this Weather Ball. It hits for not enough. But that was the idea of this update, so yeah. And now I'm going to throw this next weather ball. I'm not going to shield again. And yeah, because they snuck in the one bubble, oh my gosh, a little bit of lag and not actually able to throw a move. Or maybe had to throw an extra bubble anyway. And yeah, her own Cofacricus comes out, so that's rough, but I mean, look at how much these weather balls are doing. And I'm easily going to be able to outpace. It's just a matter of surviving the Shadow Claw damage. So throw that next weather ball. And I'm anticipating that she's going to try to make a catch. I sneak in a mud shot, which helps. I have to shield this because I have to shield everything. Throw this weather ball, and she makes a catch on Greedent, which is pretty bad for me. I mean, the Greedent was super low, and to be honest, it might have ended up doing too much damage anyway, just because the Bullet Seed would do so much. Land that weather ball, and I'm just a tiny bit of energy away from my next one, so yeah, just barely not able to pull that third game together. All right, next up against Boygos, fellow content creator here on YouTube. Opening with a Galarian Rapidash, whose moveset I'm not super familiar with. I am going to no-shield the first move because I figured it would be a Body Slam, and it was, and it still did so much because Shadow Manectric is not great. Here I'm going to bait the Wild Charge, which would hit for nothing. Thankfully, I get a shield and then switch out to Pidgeot, which I figured would be a pretty good response for Nidoking because it's using Fury Cutter, which I resist, so I'm going to no-shield. It's the Mega Horn. Doesn't do that much, even after that buff. I make kind of a mistake here, I feel, which is throwing the Feather Dance. Shouldn't have bothered. Should have just charged up the rest of the way. Because I would be able to survive another Mega Horn anyway. I'm going to no-shield this move. Also, even if it's a Mega Horn, it would be fine, but it's a Sand Tomb. Debuffs me, does absolutely no damage, and yeah, Nidoking goes down. But I would have preferred to have less health, more energy. We get some nice lag. And I go for the Feather Dance here again. If I don't get a shield, thankfully I do, but if I didn't get a shield, I would have done nothing. So since it's debuffed, I'm going to shield here. Shield this Crunch. Gets the defense drop, brings Rapidash back out, and I'm going to throw the Brave Bird and take Rapidash out. Probably would have been better to store that Brave Bird and switch out to Cast Form. Instead, now I'm going to bring Cast Form against this Alolan Grimer, which is fine. I'm going to shield this first move. It is a Crunch. Hopefully he doesn't get the defense drop, but he does. And yeah, I'm just going to throw this Weather Ball normal. Hits for neutral, same as the Weather Ball rock, and Weather Ball normal, or move name, whatever, is going to do almost enough damage. I'm just going to throw the other ball and manage to take this Grimer down. GG. Yeah, I wish I had refreshed my game data before this, but I definitely wasn't the only one. Boygos also told me that he was getting move name number. All right, Politoed and Skuntank. This is obviously a pretty strong matchup for Politoed. Politoed outpaces significantly. I'm going to end up shielding this first move. Probably should have thrown a Weather Ball earlier, but I didn't think that he was going to throw. I figured he was just going to... I thought he was going to try to make a catch at some point, so I just ended up storing up energy. So yeah, comes out with Greedent, which is much better at absorbing the damage. I probably should have just switched out to Escavalier right away, not bothered throwing a charge move, but I was hoping maybe to draw a shield or something. Escavalier going to take that first Crunch, no problem, and I would be able to survive another one, so I'm going to no-shield this one also. Another Crunch, and Greedent's just barely not going to be able to reach a Body Slam, and I'm able to end with Escavalier with a ton of energy. I'm blind throwing the Drill Run because I'll be able to reach a second one. And yeah, Alolan Grimer comes back out, so... Just going to throw the next the next Drill Run right away, get the second shield, and yeah, now Boygos is out of shields. Switches into Skuntank, but I already have energy on Politoed, so I'm just going to bring Politoed back in and throw this first Weather Ball. Kind of gauge how much the damage is going to be done by this and see if I can Mud Shot the rest of the way down. And yeah, I'm going to go with that. Just going to shield once, Mud Shot the rest of the way down, and with a bunch of energy. Alolan Grimer doesn't have much in the energy department and isn't going to charge very quickly, so I should be able to just build up to the Blizzard pretty safely. Going to be able to throw this Blizzard and take out Alolan Grimer. GG. Yeah, Weather Ball was nerfed, but still really strong move just because of how spammy it is. So yeah, Cast Form into an XL Bulbasaur. Yeah, this is unusual, except that it's Boygos, so it's actually completely normal. So, just going to throw this Weather Ball. Hitting this Greedent for neutral, not doing that much because Greedent is so ridiculously thick. And then I'm going to bring in Nidoking because I figured that would be better because, you know, Cofagrigus has no play against Greedent, really. Gonna no-shield this. It is another Body Slam. And yeah, Boygos is definitely going to be able to win switch if he wants to here. I'm going to throw the Sand Tomb bait, hoping to get a shield, and I don't. And thankfully, I'm just barely able to reach the next Sand Tomb. So here, Greedent is pretty low, has some energy. Boygos could decide to shield or not, decides to no shield, save his shields. Bulbasaur comes back out. And yeah, I'm going to bring Cast Form back out, throw this Weather Ball right away. I don't yet know what's in the back, so hard to plan here. My Hexes aren't doing that much. XL Bulbasaur does have some bulk to it, and Hex isn't really doing a ton of damage. Just going to throw this next Weather Ball. Cast Form outpaces Bulbasaur to the Seed Bomb, but not by, like, so much. And I thought this Weather Ball... I was hoping this Weather Ball would be enough, but when this lands, Bulbasaur survives. And, yeah, this was a CMP tie. So I could shield here and keep two Pokemon, but I figured maybe I would just be able to close with Kof, and it is the shiny Alolan Grimer again, so yeah. Not an amazing matchup for Kof. I am going to no-shield this first move. It is the Crunch. I was hoping it would do less damage than that, but it was, yeah. That didn't happen. It did a ton of damage. I land the Shadow Ball because, you know, no shields and such, and I'm not able to reach the... my next charge move. I probably should have just shielded there. But, yeah, Alolan Grimer would have outpaced me to the second crunch anyway. There wasn't really that much I could do there. GG. All right, next up against Stephen Stone. Cast Form into Abomasnow. This is a pretty favorable match for Cast Form. As you guys can probably tell from here, I've been having pretty decent results with Double Ball Cast Form. So I have been using it more as the sets have gone on. Steven's going to no-shield the first Weather Ball, which did a lot. I am going to no-shield that Weather Ball. And switches out to try to make a catch, which is fine. I'm going to bring Pidgeot out. So if this is a Blizzard, it will hurt so much. So I'm going to shield the first move, and it is a Weather Ball. And this one's coming out a little bit too early. I'm able to sneak in a Gust, which is fantastic. Absorb that Weather Ball, okay, and now I'm just going to throw this Feather Dance. Probably should have just gone straight Brave Bird, but at least this is going to enable me to farm the rest of the way down, as long as, you know, they don't actually Blizzard me. Going to absorb that next Weather Ball, and yeah. Once this Gust connects, I will be able to KO this Politoed. And yeah, so I'm down a shield. Abomasnow comes out, and I mean, I have a lot of energy. I should probably have shielded, but I end up just deciding to let that go. Bring out a Scavalier, and yeah, there's a Pelipper back there, so that's tough. I'm going to throw this Megahorn, which would hit for resisted, but still hits for a lot. And I mean, Pelipper's not so thick that these resisted counters aren't doing enough. I'm going to no-shield this because I know I'm going to barely survive it. Able to get a few counters in. And, I mean, Cast Form is going to have a lot of energy coming out of this, but the opponent still has 3 shields. Or, sorry, still has 2 shields, so... Throw 1 Hex. My opponent is able to get in 2 Powder Snows. Throw that and build up to 1 more, and yeah, at this point I'm at back-to-back, but I'm just a little bit too slow to get there, and yeah, Abomasnow is able to just Powder Snow and then Weather Ball me down. So I probably didn't play that as well as I could have, but yeah, that's GG. Alright, Pelipper into Beedrill. This is obviously a very strong matchup for Pelipper, and he's staying in, so that tells me that he's probably, you know, weak to Pelipper in the back also, so can't switch out of this lead. Just gonna throw this Weather Ball. Don't get a shield, and yeah, I'm just going to wing attack the rest of the way down. At this point, this can only be really a Drill Run or an X-Scissor or a Fell Stinger, so I'm just going to let it go. It is just an X-Scissor. And I have a decent lead. Politoed comes out, which isn't really that strong against Pelipper either. I threw my Weather Ball at 3, but I really should have thrown it at 4 to try to go for a CMP tie. Able to get one wing attack back in, and now I'm going to let this go. Hoping to survive it, and I do, and it's really hard to mudshot Pelipper down, but Steven is feeling very intent on doing exactly that. Just barely not able to get to the next Weather Ball. And yeah, I'm just going to bring out a Scavalier because it's really hard for Cast Form to hex something down. Going to absorb this first Weather Ball, and it does a lot. And yeah, able to sneak in a counter. So because I snuck in this counter and Politoed is still one Mudshot away, he's going to have to switch out here to transfer this counter. That's definitely the right move. Transfers it into a Swampert, and now I am just going to, since it's a Shadow Swampert, I'm just going to throw the Drill Run. Don't need to Mega Horn the Shadow Swamp. And I try to switch out here to catch the Hydro Cannon. I'm going to let this first move go because Cast Form will survive whatever it is, even if it's the Earthquake, it's the Hydro Cannon. And this was a CMP tie that I lost, so I'm able to throw this Weather Ball, which is not enough to actually take Swampert down. Swampert is throwing some extra Mudshots, but it's not going to be able to reach back to back, so totally unhelpful. I can just let this go. Could also have shielded and hexed down and preserved. But yeah, it just felt safer to save my shield for a Scavalier because I know for a fact I can counter down this Politoed, no problem. Only going to be able to have to shield this Weather Ball, and Politoed goes down. GG. All right. Into the next match. Hypno into Pelipper. So, pretty strong matchup for Hypno. That hasn't really changed a lot just because of the Weather Ball nerf. Like, Pelipper is as strong as it always was. Like really. If you guys didn't know that Weather Ball was nerfed, would you really be able to tell from what we've seen so far? It's so minor. Gonna throw this Drill Run, and yeah, able to counter down this G-Fisk after correctly calling the Rock Slide bait. Pelipper comes back out. Makes a lot of sense. That's why they would have left health on a Scav. So I'm just going to go straight Mega Horn. No reason to bait because I'm not going to be able to reach a second move regardless. Get my counters in, but I get Wing Attack the whole way down. So this is tough because this Pelipper has so much energy and Weather Ball is still a ridiculously dangerous move. Hypno is pretty thick though, and yeah. Opponent switches into Sableye, and I'm just going to bring Cast Form out into that. Obviously can't throw Weather Ball normal here, so just going to go with Weather Ball Rock. Hits for neutral. Doesn't really do a ton, but I mean, my Hexes are hitting for neutral, and I'm double resisting these Shadow Claws, so I'm able to do a lot more chip damage with my fast moves. The Foul Play hits, and it's clear that it's going to take a Foul Play plus a return, or 2 Foul Plays and a ton of Shadow Claws to be able to take Cast Form out. Even from here, I would be able to survive the Foul Play, no problem, but I'm going to shield anyway because I really just want to get this last shield out, and yeah, 6 Shadow Claws. Cast Form can get 4 Hexes in that time, so Cast Form is outpacing Sableye. Going to shield here also because I need to preserve Cast Form, and switching out when I have enough health to maybe just barely survive a Foul Play. Throwing the Thunder Punch right away, which is going to pressure the Sableye to have to throw his energy. I probably could have thrown one Confusion first, taken a Weather Ball Water on Hypno. Wouldn't have changed that much, really. And yeah, but I'm still able to reach this Weather Ball and take Sableye out. GG. Really close game, though. He was actually only 1 Shadow Claw away from his next Foul Play. And, yeah, that's 5. So, yeah, those are the battles. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to do the things that you know you're supposed to do at the ends of videos. You know you're supposed to do them. Please do the things. I'll see you guys on the next one.